Hey everyone, how you doing today? Mary Ellen Vanaken of Atlanta, Georgia, and boy, do we have a treat for you today. We are talking to agents all around the world in real estate, and today we're going to be talking with Dawn Humphrey.
Hi.
And she's going to tell you all about all the areas that she serviced, but mostly St. Augustine and the surrounding areas. So, Dawn, take it over. Tell us the areas that you handle.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Mary Ellen. Thank you so much for having me on here. I feel so honored, and it's great to see you and get to spend some time with you. Um, I actually live in St. Augustine, and St. Augustine is a city within St. Johns County. So I work St. Johns County, which includes a city called St. Johns. So there's St. Johns County, and there's also a city called St. Johns. It's
Okay.
actually a very, very, very small city. They literally cut like a piece of Jacksonville off and called it St. Johns, which is kind of crazy. And then I also work the rest of St. Johns County, which includes St. Augustine and then Ponte Vedra. And Ponte Vedra is more towards the beaches area. It's the more people know more of Ponte Vedra because we have like the big TPC tours out there with pro golfers and everything. So St. Augustine's known for its area. Ponte Vedra is known for its area.
Okay, fantastic. So let's dig in a little bit about your background. So let's, like where you from, what you did, that kind of stuff. So let's what you did before real estate. How about that as well?
Ooh, so I am originally from New York. You can't tell because I've been in Florida most of my life. I always say my name's Dawn because here in Florida, the
Mhm.
Southerners, they say Dawn. I'm like, no, it's Dawn. So when I meet somebody from up north, New Jersey, New York, I love it because they know how to pronounce my name. My parents moved us down here about fourth grade. So I've been here most of my life. But up north, being from the Bronx, we actually went to Hebrew school. My mom's Jewish and my dad's Greek. So we went to Hebrew school until we moved down here in fourth grade. So it was definitely a great experience. And then my parents moved me down here, and I've never left. There's not a reason to. Florida's great. Um, where we're at, we're more on the northern east side. So we do get a change of weather. So a lot of people like that. I prefer the warm. I could live in, 80, 90-degree weather all day long, but I do love it here. And we vacation here. It's funny. We vacation on the west coast of Florida and we vacation on the east coast because where else are you going to go? I mean, the next best place would be like Hawaii, and that's a little further out.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I love that. So, of course, I'm from New York as well, and I'm from
Yay!
Long Island, and I will say your name, Dawn, and I'll say that I
Thank
have a
you.
mother and a brother and a sister and a dog. So there you go. So you got your taste of Long Island here, and pizza and bagels. I mean, how could you go wrong? So you have to go to New York for those. I'm sorry,
Exactly.
no matter what, in Atlanta, everyone says, "Oh, there's some great pizza, this and that." There's nothing like going into New York, going into Long Island, especially, and having the amazing bagels that my dad would pick up every Saturday
Uh,
morning, and they were still hot and warm.
uh,
And and pizza would always be, like usually a Friday night would be a pizza treat, and just the pizza. There's just nothing like it. So anyway, going back into that, I love that. So how did you get into real estate, and what did you do before real estate? How about that?
so I came from the IT world, corporate America. I've been at like all the big banks, American Express, Chase, Citibank, and then some. And I've done everything from programming, testing, and analysis. And the last company I was with, I worked for 7 years from home. We actually did TurboTax, but it's for CPAs.
Oh, nice.
So we worked on that side of it, doing programming for them. And literally, I was going to get my pool water checked one day, and it was in a strip mall, and I was just waiting around, and I looked up. I'm like, oh, there's like Keller Williams. What is that? Because this was 24 no 2013, and
Okay.
I had not really seen them that much, and I was like, oh, I'll go talk to them. And they're like, oh, we do a career night, come on up, and they'll be able to answer all your questions. Because I'm
Sure.
like, is it like what you see on HGTV? Am I going to make $1 million the first year? Do I get to choose my own hours? Do I only have to open three doors? How? Tell me. So that's where it started. But my husband and I are very big planners. And so it took us 6 months. I say us because I took him with me because it's an our decision. It's not just mine.
Yeah.
So it took us 6 months to get to that career night. And then when we did that, the lady that was teaching it is the coach with Keller Williams. And she's like, if you have any questions, come talk to me. So we sat with her another day for 4 hours and grilled her from top to bottom. And then we said,
I'm
okay, I'm
not
going to do
surprised.
this.
I am not surprised at all knowing you. And this is
It's the
why you need to
details.
hire her, because her detail is incredible. And she's going to tell you the good, the bad, and ugly on a spreadsheet for you. So if you're looking for an agent like that, which you need an agent like that, you need to talk to Dawn. But go ahead.
Exactly. And it took us another 6 months to plan out all the details of leaving corporate America and doing that. And then it's been 2014, I got my license the end of the year. Literally, I took the test, the state board, the same day I was going on vacation. So my husband's like,
Nice.
please, please, please pass this, because if not, vacation is not going to be fun. And thank you, Jesus, I passed. So here I am.
And here you are, so many, 11 years later, and kicking it out of the park. So
Crazy.
tell us, well, I mean, you talked about St. Augustine, you talked about Ponte Verde and St. John and St. John's and St. John's County. So what types of properties do you sell and you like to sell?
So I deal with residential, and here we have a ton of resales, but we also have a ton of new construction. St. Johns County took off about 25 years ago, I'm going to say. Before, when you wanted great schools and stuff like that, people were still staying in Jacksonville and another area. St. Johns County took off. Even Citibank, I was working there in 2004, and they actually moved their office to this area because they said most of our people that work here live closer to this area. So people were seeing this coming up, not just people buying houses, but corporations as well. So that was what actually started all this craziness going on here. And it's just growing. So we always just people builders are building left and right. We have a lot of production builders, and we have also a lot of actual where you can customize building. We do have several of those that are great with doing that. And then the production builders come in and they're building all over. So when St. Augustine took off, they all started coming in here. So I
Nice.
work with residential, so it's resales, it's going to be new construction. I work downtown, work at the beaches. I work all of St. Augustine because it's not a big area. We
It's
literally have
beautiful.
6
Yeah.
exits, and that's it. And each exit's about 5 miles apart. So it's, 30 feet wide, 30 miles wide by, maybe 30 wide, 30 deep, but that's it. So it's pretty central there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that. And I love new construction. That's one of my favorites. Like, everyone's like, I don't want new construction. I don't want new construction, but I always throw in a new construction, and probably 95% of the time they buy that new construction than a resale. So I love that.
But see, you think out the box, they didn't know what they didn't know. And then when you do go out of the box, they go, oh, I didn't think about that. And then they're like, oh, well, this is great. Let's go check it out.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us about like price ranges, home price ranges, or just kind of some of range or what you can get for your money so people know, like a new construction or whatever. So go ahead.
So where I was talking earlier about Ponte Vedra, I'm going to say that's probably the most affluent area out of St. Johns County. It's got the A-rated schools. So St. Johns County is known for its schools, the A-rated schools, but there's also going to be better schools than others. Ponte Vedra is going to have the cream de la creme. That's where that's at. So the pricing over there, you're probably not going to find anything for less than 500, the
Right.
least. But if you go a little bit out of that area where maybe the schools aren't as good, you may be able to find new construction within a neighborhood that's maybe just got a swimming pool and a lot of amenities and all that. You could maybe get something closer to the high threes.
Okay.
But if you're into, a 2-bedroom that's in a neighborhood and the houses are older, nothing's updated, you might be able to get something, close to even 300. But
Wow.
it all comes down to where do you want to live, the schools, the neighborhood. Do you want a lot of amenities? Do you want to live in the suburbs? Most of the suburbs are going to be the A-rated schools, so the price point's going to be, like we talked about, in the higher range. But people love it because they move here for the schools. That's a big draw for St. Augustine and St. Johns County, Ponte Vedra. all of that, because that's all encompassed in that area.
Okay, let's talk about investment properties. Do you deal with a lot of investors? And you know, what is the market there? Is it short-term rentals? Is it midterm? Is it long-term rentals?
So we're limited because we have so many HOAs on short-term
Yes.
rentals. You're going to,
We have the same exact problem in Atlanta. So I totally get it. People like, I
so
want to invest. And I'm like, okay, there's most of these subdivisions are rental restricted. And so that's why you need
exactly.
an agent like yourself or myself when it comes to that, because you know which subdivisions are rental restrictions and which are not, where people will just send you houses and go, I want to invest in this house. And you're like, nope, not going to work. So, all right. So go back to investing of what you do, what you can find for an investor.
Yeah, so if they're looking for Airbnbs and short-term rentals, it's going to be the beach or
Hmm.
it's going to be downtown St. Augustine.
Okay.
There's maybe one or two other areas that may be a small HOA that you can do that in, but everything else is not going to allow that. Now, of course, when they get into where the A-rated schools are at, those kind of HOAs, they can do a long-term investment. So they can do stuff, where they can rent it out for a year. But all the other ones, all my investors are either going to be in non-HOA neighborhoods, which there's not a lot, or they're going to be locally at the beach. And I do work with several of them that have either Airbnbs or they do long-term investments too. So I work with a little bit of both. It just depends on what they're looking for. And a lot of
Nice.
people will say, let me get a short-term rental investment property because my kid is in school here. We have Flagler College, which is a private school.
Yes.
But they want, instead of paying, somebody else's mortgage, they're like, let's buy a house or buy a condo, let my kid live there for 3 or 4 years, let their friends pay me rent, and then I can rent it out as an Airbnb after that.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. So whether it's investing or it's your primary home, you definitely can help in that area. So let's talk about like the most desirable areas or neighborhoods in your city and why are they desirable? I mean, we talked a lot about schools that are so great, but what else can you give us some guidance? I want people to know about your area in different cities.
So that's a great question. And we actually have an area, and it's a community called Nocatee. It's like the third fastest growing community in the United States. The reason why is the amenities are over the top. You almost feel like you're at Disney World.
Oh,
Um, it's in Ponte Vedra, which I said that's the most coveted area out of all of St. Johns County because it's also close to the beach. So when you live more in the suburbs, it's beautiful over there, but when you're in Ponte Vedra, you're not that far from the beach. So people like that because they can get to the beach quickly. They can also get to shopping quickly. But Ponte Vedra is just more of
mhm.
it's more of an affluent area. So Nocatee's got about 7,000 homes in there. They're still finding a little bit of areas to carve out. It's been going on since about 2004. But what they did was whoever the builder and the developers were in there, I'd say the developer, they told them you have to leave so much area as green space. So it's
Oh,
very
I like
lush when you drive through there. You drive through and it's lined with these beautiful Sylvester palm trees. You feel like you're almost at a retreat in your own. And then within Nocatee are many, many neighborhoods. You've got 55 pluses. All of those would be gated. You've got neighborhoods where the houses, start at $1 million. You've got neighborhoods where they start at 500,000. Smaller lots though, but you do have that as well. One of the big draws in there is golf carts, golf carts, golf carts, golf carts. They have a Publix in Nocatee, and that's the first Publix I've ever seen where they actually have golf cart parking. I'm like, wait, where did that
it.
come
Love
from?
it.
But people love it because they can put their kids on the golf cart. You have to be a certain age, but they can get around all of Nocatee as big as it is. And they can just let their, not say kids go, but they can take them and let them go to the store. They've
Right.
got many restaurants over there. They've built out not just restaurants, but there's coffee shops and hair salons. And they've tried to make it where you don't have to leave the area to do anything. One of my friends lives out there, and like for July 4th they do a golf cart parade. There's over 500 golf carts in that parade alone.
Wow.
Yeah, so
So
people
really,
love
that's
it.
lifestyle. I mean, that is total lifestyle.
Exactly.
So you really can get in there. You've got the 55 and older, you have the very expensive luxury homes, but you also can get in there at a reasonable price. So for 500,000, what approximately are you getting if you were in that neighborhood? How much square
You're
footage? How many?
You're probably going to get close to 2000, and it's going to be
Okay.
something older with a small piece of property. Now they also have townhomes available. They also
Okay.
have apartments for rental in there. So depending on what you are, like you said, you could be
Price
55
range.
plus, you could have a townhome because it could be your starter home, and that's where you want to be, and you want to be in those schools, but you don't have the money to purchase a $500,000 home, but you can get a townhome for 300 or 400,000. Still
Nice.
have all the amenities that Nocti gives you, like you've got, with the golf carts and everything else, but you can also be affordable until you're ready to move on to maybe your moving up home, or people that are downsizing or going into the townhomes. And that's another
Yes.
possibility too.
Love that. Okay. So my next question is really interesting. Why are people moving to your area? What's the benefits?
So one, we're Florida, so people come here for the weather. We do have high humidity though, but you come here knowing that. So, and if not, then you learn never to leave your house between July and August. Just kidding. You
You
can,
go somewhere, you go get a house in the Georgia mountains, or you go up north to North Carolina, right? I would assume that some people do have those mountain homes just to get away from the heat. I get it.
They do. I have got customers that are actually leaving Monday they live up north in New York, and they come down here in the winter, and then they're getting ready to go back home because they know the heat's coming out here. So they'll do
There you
6
go.
months here. We have a lot of that because they do want to get away from the cold winter. So they come here for the winter, and then they leave when it gets warm here because they don't want to have to deal with the heat. But so the weather's definitely a big draw here. We have the beaches. The biggest draw I would say is going to be the schools. And what happens there is, and I work with a lot of families like this, is
Sure.
you move your family here because you have children. Well, guess who moves here now because they miss their grandkids is your mom
Yes.
and
And
dad.
they have a
So they move
55 and
here.
older community right there for them.
Right.
Yes.
And we have several neighborhoods that are 55 plus, but then they have regular houses outside the gate. So I just sold one the other day where the daughter and the son and their granddaughter live in the regular neighborhood. The parents obviously live in the 55 plus, but they're all in the same neighborhood. So the granddaughter can literally ride her bike to grandma and grandpa's house in the
That's
55
awesome.
plus because they're all right there together. So we do have a lot of that as well. We also have just regular 55 pluses, but that ends up happening. So, not only your parents come down, but then your spouse's parents come down. So everybody moves here for that. I'll be honest with you, we don't have any kids. We just like St. Augustine because it's very quaint, it's very romantic. It's not the large city
Yeah.
like Jacksonville or Orlando or Tampa like that. So it's still very compact. Like we only have one Home Depot, one Lowe's. We do have two Chick-fil-A's though. But it's very
Chick-fil-A.
small. But they did build a Costco. They have a BJ's now. They did build another Lowe's, but they brought in Bass Pro Shop. It's kind of crazy. So that's going to be more in
Yes.
the suburbs. The other reason people love it here is it's the oldest city in the United States, so people like
Yes.
the history of it. You're going to find more of that downtown St. Augustine. The homes that are like in the suburbs and all that, they're all going to be either your production builders or your custom builders, but they're not going to have, circa 1800. They're not going to be 100 years old. You'll find that downtown St. Augustine, and that's one of the biggest draws for that is people love the history. They love, having, going down there and being able to go to the fort, being able to see, this is where it started at, the oldest city in the United States. This is it.
Yeah. So let's just touch base about downtown. That must be exciting. Like, how many like older homes, like from, do they have? Is there a lot or just a good amount? And how is inventory? Is it hard to buy one of those? And price point?
So what you run into downtown, and I sell down there as well, you run into the lots are smaller, and some of these people don't even have driveways, so parking can be a bear. So I like to tell you that ahead of time so you don't
Of
come here and go, oh,
course.
this is great. So with people that don't have driveways, they actually have their cars registered where they can park on the street and stuff like that. But you have everything downtown because you've got houses that are on the water, the bay. Those are
Nice.
going in the millions. You've got ones that are set back and maybe not updated because a lot of these that are going to be older, if they're not updated yet, you could get them at a decent price, maybe $500,000. but you have to keep in mind, because it's historic, you may not be able to do some of the things that you want to do to them.
Right.
So you always need to check with the county on what plans you can do to them and what you can't do to them. We also have, we're surrounded by a ton of water. So one thing to keep in mind is we do get flooded. Matthew was a big hurricane for us back in 2016.
Okay.
So some of the homes, because they are older, 100 years old and stuff, if they do flood, they cannot be torn down. Some of them you would have to actually build up, so you can actually you can raise those. But you do have to watch out for that, because we do have that, because we've got water at the beach, you have the Matanzas Bay, and then you have the Intercoastal Waterway all within like a few miles of each other. So we're definitely surrounded by the water. But downtown is gorgeous. It really depends on what you want. I've sold 2 stories that looked over the bay. I've sold small ones that were just sitting around the area, just on a little street down there. But it's a nice attraction, but it's got to be a house. It's got to be for somebody that wants houses with character in them, because that's what you're going to get with the old historics. A lot of them are turned into Airbnbs too, as well. So you get to go in, they've redone them, and you can go stay downtown somewhere and just walk around. And we've done that. We did that last year. We rented an Airbnb and just stayed downtown and enjoyed ourselves in something that was like 100 years old. But it was just great to see the history of it.
Yes, and I love that you can get a new build, and yet you can go in a home that was built in what, the 1800s or whatever.
Yes,
that's amazing.
Yes,
that's amazing. So, talking about what are the drawbacks, challenges that people have when they move to your area, are there any?
So there is, of course. I'm never going to say there isn't. But the challenges that we run into here is because it is such a small town and it grew so fast. Like I said, it started growing around the 2000s, that they may not have the infrastructure for the roads. Traffic isn't horrible here, because traffic is going to be subjective. I had somebody move in from Chicago, and they're like, oh, this isn't bad. But somebody that's been here would think, oh my gosh, this is awful. I had to sit at the light for 2 turns.
For 2 turns, right?
Yes. So that's one thing they don't, they build the neighborhoods, but they don't build the infrastructure quick enough. So it does become a bottleneck. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges you're going to find here. And then also price points. People come here thinking, oh, I can get into a house, with the swimming pool and, all the other features. And then when we have to show them what the price is at, they're like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be that expensive. So you run into that as well. So setting expectations for any of my customers before they come in town, and letting them know, if this is what you want, this is the price point they're going to be at, is always, something that's going to be helpful. We don't have a lot of shopping here. We do have an outlet mall, but if you really want to go shopping, you'll go into Jacksonville, where they have a huge town center outside, where it's got everything from Old Navy to Apple to Tiffany's, and then everything in between.
And
but
wait 1 second. How far is Jacksonville from St. Augustine?
So depending where you're at, if you're going to what we call the town center, it's about a 30-minute ride, because it's all highway. It's I-95 to 295, which is nice. But depending on where you're going into Jacksonville, if you're going to the airport, you're talking 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic and stuff like that.
Okay. And you're close to a great airport too, so you can get out very easily too, as well, which is definitely a plus,
It is. And you also have the option of flying out of Daytona Beach, which is about an hour as well. Or a lot of people, I tell them, check Orlando, because even though it's about an extra hour each way, if you can get a straight flight versus doing a connection into Jacksonville, you're going to save time on the back end, because you're not having to connect that whole time. So I do tell people, check all 3 airports, because some might fly into where you're located, and Jacksonville may not, but Orlando may be an option for you.
All right. So let's talk about industries. Like, what fuels your economy there in St. Augustine?
Tourism and hospitality. Okay. We have a plethora of hotels, especially downtown and the beaches. And then, we have a plethora of restaurants. So what you're going to find more in downtown is going to be one-off restaurants, local restaurants with local chefs. You're not going to find the Outbacks and the Longhorns and the Olive Gardens. You will find those here. We do have them, But downtown is where you're going to go when you want a good dinner. That's where I'm going to say, go check out these 3 restaurants or check out these 5 restaurants
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So that's what our backbone is. And then also at the beach, you're going to find a ton of hotels out there, and you're going to find a lot of one-off restaurants. Again, not so much the Outbacks and stuff like that, but places that have been around forever that everybody knows. That's where you go to. Coffee shops, the local coffee shops and stuff like that as well. So that's what builds our backbone here.
Okay, fantastic. What about what major companies are in your area?
So in St. Augustine in general, our largest one is going to be Northrop Grumman, and that's going to be the military. We do have another company called Carlisle, and they actually make the wiring for the planes and stuff. But that is really the bulk of the main places that are out here. What a lot of people do, including my husband, he works at Citibank, is you live in
Okay.
St. Augustine and you drive to Jacksonville for the big businesses, because that's where the
Sure.
Citibanks, the Chases, the Bank of Americas, the hospitals, the health industries. That's where all of the big box places are going to be located. But if you're here, you're either doing hospitality, hotels, tourism, or you're a professor at the college, because we do have Flagler College here, as well as we have a teaching college here also,
Oh,
a
nice.
teaching school, St. Augustine. Yeah, and it's great because you can go there as well. So we do have people coming here for that school also, but the majority
Hmm.
here is going to be Northrop Grumman or Carlisle.
Okay, cool. So what do people do for fun in your city?
Everything. There's so much to do here. We have some kind of festival, some kind of activity, some kind of art show, or some kind of a concert going on weekly. We have the farmers market. We have them in Nocatee. We do them in other locations as well. So you have that going on too. We have concerts. We have the amphitheater. The St. Augustine Amphitheater is really nice because it's actually a very small venue, but it's outside. So yes, it can be hot, and yes, you can get rained on, but you know that going in. But that's a big draw as well. And they actually do the farmers market in that area on Saturdays. They do them out at the beaches. So we have those options as well. We have the college that you can go and take the tours, the fort, which is a big attraction. If you have kids, they love doing that. We have a pirate
Mhm.
ship as well, so people come and check that out. And then we have the trolley. You get on the trolley and it takes you all around St. Augustine, and you can hear the history of St. Augustine. But our biggest draw and the biggest activity is the St. Augustine Annual Nights of Lights. That runs November to January. We have over 1 million lights lit up. You can walk around downtown. You can take the trolley, which is fun because they play Christmas music. They give you little glasses. So when you look at the lights, it's either a Santa Claus or a Rudolph or something like that.
How
You
cool
get
is
cookies.
that?
It is. The kids love it. And we do it every year, and we just do it because it's fun. But it takes you around for like 45 minutes. When you get off, you get cookies, and that's fun too. And you also get some hot cider. You can do it also as a boat ride. You can also do it on a carriage ride.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you don't want to spend money, you just come and park and you walk around. If you want to do the trolleys, if you have kids, that's the fun part, because we're all singing as the trolleys pass each other.
Sure.
We sing to each other and we wave and have fun and everything. So that's our biggest attraction here.
I love that. I love that. So if we were to say what kind of vibe St. Augustine is, what would you say? The vibe of the city.
I would say it's a very culture enabled city, very historic. The vibe is a little bit of everything because, like I said, you have people that are, I've met 2 couples that just moved here because they came here and said, we love it.
Yeah, you
You
just
know,
fell in love, right?
right. People with no children. And then you have the grandparents, and then you have everybody in between, such as myself with no kids, and then the people that have the children. So you have a plethora of different people coming here, and it's really it's the quaintness to me. It's very romantic when you go downtown. I mean, my husband laughs at me, but every year he's like, where do you want to go for your birthday? I'm like, downtown. We're going to go eat somewhere special. He's like, but we just did that last year. I'm like, no, but it's got such a great romantic vibe. You just walk around and everybody's out there.
Yeah.
You're just enjoying the city itself and just seeing
Mhm.
it in all its glory. And there's so much to see and do down there. You can go to a different restaurant all the time, and people are opening restaurants, even the ones that look like holes in the walls. Those are the ones you want to go to because those are the great ones that nobody's looking at.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about climate, the climate. I think we talked a little bit about it, but just give us a quick thing on do you see the four seasons and kind of the climate of,
Yeah, I'm gonna let you look right quick and see where we're even at today. So it's actually got a little warmer for us. It's 82 right now. With it doesn't say. I was gonna say the humidity is at 69. So my hair's looking okay because I haven't been out yet.
yeah, I know, right? I had to put mine, yeah, we're in Atlanta. The humidity is like this. Okay,
It
so wait a
goes
minute.
like that
Yeah.
too, yes.
Mhm.
But we do get a couple of different seasons. Right now it's beautiful until about May. So May is when it's going to start getting hot again. When it gets into July and August, the humidity is like at 110%. You don't really want to go outside. And then it starts cooling off again as you get into September, October. And for winters, we may get 3 to 5 days that are freezing, and they're never usually in a row unless it's maybe one or two. And then some winters we get none, and then some we get, like I said, those 3 to 5. And that's because we do plant things here that are more for the warmer weather. We do have to cover our plants when that happens.
Yes, I get it. All right. So, what do you personally like to do outside of real estate? What are some of your hobbies or things you like to do?
I love to walk downtown, like I said, as much as I've been here. I'm only 21, wink, wink. But like I said, I've been here since fourth grade. So downtown's just always just walking around. There's always a new shop popping up, and they're all local. So you're always going in and you're seeing local clothes. You're not looking at a local Target and a local Walmart there. You're looking at local clothes that you can buy, local things that are made, vases, or different things you can decorate your house with, paintings and stuff like that. So I love walking around downtown, and we love to eat. So I love to go down there and eat. And there's many restaurants, from a little barbecue place all the way to the fine dining, where you always have to make a reservation, and there's only 10 tables in the restaurant. So if you don't get in there in 3 months, you're out of luck. Stuff like that. We like to go to the beach. The beach is great. One of the things that's nice about our beach is you can actually drive on it if you have a 4x4. So a lot of people do that because you can pack up the car, put the surfboards, the coolers, your lounge chairs, get on the beach. You can drive on it. You can only go south. So once you turn, you can't turn around and come back, but you can park your car and you have everything right there. So a lot of people like to do that, but you are limited to a 4x4 because of the beaches and stuff like that. And a lot of people here, we have pools. We have our own pool. Don't laugh, my husband's from Canada. They actually had a pool in Canada. So it's good because we've always built our houses and put pools in. So we love to just hang out in our backyard because it's our own private oasis as well, and just enjoy the day and not have to go anywhere. And we do a lot of staycations. Like I said, we
Yeah, I
actually,
love that.
don't laugh, but we've actually rented Airbnbs with my family here and stayed in St. Augustine, as well as gone to the West Coast. But we've done that here as well. The beach is a big attraction here.
Of
Kelly
course.
Slater, East Coast, he was down in Cocoa Beach. So our waves aren't you're not going to find the California waves, but hey, you can still surf on them and become a great surfer as well.
That's awesome. All right. So let's talk about, do you have any favorite local spots that, like, when your clients come down, you're like, here's a couple restaurants that I totally suggest, or places. I mean, I think everything what you kind of said downtown is amazing, but is there any specific restaurants that you might say this is a must do? Or even if you're coming to travel to St. Augustine, you would need to go to this restaurant.
Yes, since we have so many local restaurants, it's hard to say go
Of
here, go
course.
here. So I like to see, if they have kids with them, okay, great. You may want to check out Ned's. Ned has been around forever. He used to own another restaurant on the island, and the island is anywhere over the beach, over the Coastal Waterway to the beach. But it's all down home cooking. So you go in there, and for the price, you get a huge meal, but kids are welcome. You see people, and they're older, younger. It's
Nice.
just, you're going to get good down home cooking. If people want to go somewhere really nice, that restaurant I was just talking about, it's called Llama Llamas. Again, another local chef. There's only 10 tables. And the last time I was in there, they're like, your time's up. You actually have to leave because they have to turn over the tables every time. But it's Peruvian food, so it's out of this world. It's a very limited menu, but it's excellent. And then if people just want to go and check out some of the local places, we have a local little restaurant called Catch 27. It's local seafood, which is great. We also have barbecue. I know this is not Texas, but we have several barbecue restaurants
Nice.
downtown. And then we have a lot that overlook the bay. So they're always great just for the ambiance alone, because you
Yes.
can sit outside, you can see the water, and you can see all of St. Augustine, you can look at the fort. So that's always a great option, because those places usually will have seafood, they'll have chicken, and they'll have beef. So you can get a variety of foods as well.
Sure. That's great. So let's talk about, I always like this question because it tells about you as a person. So either place you've traveled to or something on your bucket list.
So I'll answer that two parts. The last company I was with that I said that we did TurboTax for CPAs, I did training for them, and they flew me to Australia. So that was gorgeous. I would definitely would want to go back there. I didn't have enough time to go check out the whole city, but my true bucket list is Israel. I've always wanted to go there. Of course, it's my heritage with my mom.
Sure.
My dad's Greek, and I've been to Greece, took my husband. We went for our honeymoon. So Israel's our next place that we would love to go to.
I love that. That's awesome. So one more question I have for you. What has been your most, or one of your most rewarding real estate transactions and why?
There's so many, because
I
you
know.
know,
Pick
when I
one.
got in this business, I never knew it was really about relationships, and that is truly what it's about. You meet so many people, um, and you just want to help everybody. And obviously, building the relationship with them is so important. I have one gentleman that I worked with. He was about 90 years old. His wife had passed away a couple of years ago, and he was finally ready to sell. He was holding on to the house.
Mhm.
He had moved in with his son, and he was finally ready to sell. And I was honest with him. I said, "Look, I offer complimentary staging. Let's go ahead and, work on the furniture you have in here. And let's see if you want to sell it, if you want to keep it, move it into your son's house, and let me bring in my stager, because she's going to make the house more appealing to a different set of buyers in today's market." And usually she's there by herself. And the day that she was there, my seller came over just to see what the house looked like. And he called me and he was like, "You know what? This is no longer mine and my wife's house. I see that, Dawn." He goes, "But my wife would love what your stager did to it." And right now I'm getting chills,
Oh,
because, you never know how people are going to react, because it's an emotional thing to sell your
of
home. And
course. Yes.
after the transaction happened, he called me up and even sent me a note. And he's just like, I'm overwhelmed by your kindness and generosity, and there's nothing I can give back to you." He said, "But I'm just going to keep praying for you." And I was like, that's why we do this. It's not that, hey, I just sold $1 million listing, because that one was less than 400,000. But to get to meet people like that are just truly grateful to you, is that's what matters in this business. So he was definitely one of it. And those are the stories. Those are the ones that are most memorable. I just sold another lady's mom's house. She passed away in November, and same thing. She was getting rid of the furniture already, and I could tell once the house was staged, it
Mhm.
was a little upsetting to her. It was a little emotional, because she was like, I don't think she was over that part. Not that you ever get, because I lost my mom. You never get over losing your parents.
No, of course.
But just seeing her mom's house now without her mom's furniture, because it was so new, because it was in November, to all the staged furniture, I know was an emotional thing for her. But God worked it perfectly, because we got a buyer and we sold it, and we literally just closed a week ago. So it
That's
was a great thing.
amazing.
And I got to meet these great people, and they didn't move away. It was her mom's home. So she literally lives right down the street. So she's like, "When are you coming over? We need to see you." So now they're my friends. And that's the best part, is you
Friends
get
and
friendships
family.
out of this.
Right.
Yes.
Love that. So what I've heard from you today is that you have a very detailed background. So you're going to be great when it comes to giving a price, comparable market analysis, giving details. Then you have such an amazing heart that you
Yes.
would do anything for your clients, and that your clients become your friends and family, which I really adore. So I always try to surround myself with agents like myself, and that is you to a T. So if you're
Aw.
looking for an amazing agent, amazing, incredible agent in St. Augustine area, Ponte Verde, and John's City, and also county in Florida, So, and right by Jacksonville, so we can tell everybody exactly in their brain they can do it. You need to reach out to Dawn because she is so incredible. So I just have one more question for you. Is there anything that you want to add to our viewers, to tell anything else that we kind of missed, or anything else you want to tell?
Just if you're ever interested in St. Augustine, please reach out to me. I've been here since 2007, actually living in St. Augustine, but I grew up in Jacksonville. Like I said, we've come here all the time. So I know the area really well. And even if you just have questions, I'm here to answer questions too, because sometimes people don't know where they want to be. And going through the housing market, going through the schools here, and giving people information about the area itself, sometimes it helps them make that decision. I have a couple that's coming in town next week, and they've never been here, but they want to come check it out because of the schools. So I'm here to answer any questions for you. And because I do work very closely with my customers, I'm always here for you if you have anything that's needed. Just like Mary Ellen, we work as a team together. We work with a lot of other great Keller Williams agents. So also, if I can help you or if she can help you, reach out to either one of us because we're both here for you.
Yes. And I just want to tell everyone that, remember, real estate is worldwide. We have connections everywhere around the world. So really, if you want to work with agents like us, you need to reach out to us, whether you're buying a property in Israel or Greece or Belgium or Costa Rica, or, I don't know, Asia, Thailand, wherever you want to buy property, reach out to us and we can connect you with agents that work the way we work. So anyway, thank you so much for being on our podcast and our video podcast. And we just really, really enjoyed this time. Thank you so much, Dawn. I really do appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Mary Ellen. Thank you again for the opportunity.